Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Tricky Cut 368 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, Am I the arsehole for controlling my girlfriend's freedom of speech? Basically what I was accused of. My girlfriend Rachel, 30 female, and I, 30 male, have been together for 5 years, with a strong relationship. However, yesterday I accidentally overheard Rachel and her best friend Emily discussing my best friend Nick's 32 male appearance. The conversation was predominantly Rachel describing Nick as ridiculously hot and charming. Emily asked Rachel why she chose me over Nick, and Rachel replied, laughing, as if Nick would have chosen me. I felt hurt, disrespected, and angry. At worst, it sounded like Rachel wants to sleep with Nick. At best, she's being disrespectful to our relationship and me. When I confronted her later in private, Rachel apologized but dismissed the conversation as girl talk I wasn't meant to hear. She claimed I'm overreacting and should focus on our relationship. We argued. I expressed my concerns and said it's okay to have a crush, but to have a crush on my best friend, who we hang out with on an almost daily basis, and then let her friend undermine our relationship is wrong on so many levels. Rachel accused me of being overly dramatic, controlling her speech, lacking trust. This happened yesterday. We haven't fought since, but there is unresolved tension between us. Am I the arsehole? I mean, it's one thing to have like a crush on like a celebrity or something like that, right? But to have a crush on your best friend, calling him ridiculously hot and charming and, you know, saying stuff like as if Nick would have chosen me and then getting upset at you for being upset about it is just, you know, red flags are waving for me. But Slightly Grum says she has freedom of speech. So do you. You can reply with her honestly. Inevitable Train says freedom of speech is freedom from legal prosecution and governmental retaliation, not freedom from public judgment nor non-legal consequences for one's actions. Now use your freedom of speech to say fuck you, bye to her. Not the arsehole. Loopy says not the arsehole. Well, you were clearly the second option. The consolation prize as it were. What you do with that information is up to you. I'd be rethinking the relationship, and if I stayed in it, probably not hang out with Nick as much with a girlfriend there. Also, she knows she screwed up, saying it where you could overhear it, and that's why she's pissed about you trying to control her speech or whatever. You aren't. She's just trying to gaslight you into feeling bad about saying something about it. So, OP did update the post and says, I don't know how many people will be interested in this, but here goes. I'm trying to process everything that's happened since I last posted. I ended things with Rachel and it's been a tough few days. After I confronted her about what I overheard, she completely shut down. Every time I brought it up, she dismissed my concerns, telling me I was overreacting and being too sensitive. She made me feel like I was the one with the problem, not her. It was gaslighting at its finest. I talked to Nick about what happened. Even he was weirded out by Rachel's behavior, said she crossed a major boundary and admitted her actions gave him the ick. Hearing that from him made me realize I wasn't overreacting. Rachel's constant dismissal and refusal to acknowledge the hurt she caused finally made me realize I deserved better. I ended our 5-year relationship. Now Rachel's telling our friends that I broke up with her over harmless girl talk. It's infuriating because it's not the truth. But what really got me was when Rachel texted Nick just a few days after we broke up, asking him to go for a movie. Nick told her to never contact him again and blocked her number. I'm still hurting, but I know I made the right decision. Being single is better than being with someone who doesn't respect me. That's about it. What a lad Nick is. He's got your back. I like that guy. And you know, as always, I'm not saying that OP should do this, but petty me would want to respond to what she's spreading around. If it's online, you know, if it's on social media, would want to get the truth out there. Maybe even share that message that Nick's got. I'm sure he'd back you up there, but you know, that also brings extra drama into your life, and I'm sure you just don't want that shit right now. Go and chill with Nick, have a couple of beverages. Sounds good to me. A commenter says, you're not the arsehole. If Nick is telling the truth and he didn't bang her, he's a real one. Buy that man a freaking beer and invite him over. Maybe smoke a little and watch a movie. Make her jealous. Opie says he didn't bang her, he's been with his girlfriend since high school, and he's not someone who's gonna cheat. Mental says, honestly, the fact he's in a committed relationship makes me flat out angry and disgusted by your ex. You said you guys hung out often, so she had to know about his girl, and she still tried to weasel in like that. Ick is an understatement. The trash has been taken out. Opie says she knew her. We've hung out together as a group. The fact that she made it seem like she was best friends with Nick's girlfriend while lusting after him the entire time is creepy and weird. Mendel replies that saying the audacity for her to seriously reach out to Nick right after you guys broke up. Nick sounds like a ride or die homie. Opie says he is. Unusual Potato says not only is she audacious, she's also an unsuccessful budding homewrecker given that Nick has a long-term girlfriend. Rachel is an immoral weirdo. And like many of the commenters says, the trash has taken itself out. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from OKEMU4012 and says, am I the arsehole here for breaking up with and kicking my girlfriend out because she went to an after party without me? I, 24 male, and my girlfriend, 23 female, Anne, began dating in college. Last week, Anne invited me to her co-worker's, Joe's, party. I heard a lot about him in the past, and he and she really seemed to have a lot in common, especially with their taste in music. Apparently, he was an amateur musician with a fairly successful YouTube channel. Joe initially invited only Anne, but when she asked him if I could tag along, he said it was fine. The party was on Saturday evening. It was a fun party with about 30 people, held at a restaurant Joe had rented out. Towards the end though, I wandered into Anne's little discussion group, and I immediately got the feeling that nobody really wanted me there. Most of all, Anne. It was her, Joe, and a few other people. Thinking that I was just imagining things, I hung around and listened to Joe basically boast about himself the whole time. A little while later, I wandered off to get myself a drink and chat with a few other people. Eventually, the time to leave came around, and I went to find Anne again. Joe approached me at that point and said that he was having an after party over at his house. I was going to refuse, but then he said, sorry man, but only Anne is invited, while clapping me on the shoulder. I first told him not to touch me, and then said she's not going. He informed me that she had already accepted the invitation. I texted Anne immediately to ask where she was going. She responded, sorry, on the way to Joe's place. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you. I asked if she knew I wasn't invited, and then she left me on read. Texts after that were all ignored. I drove home furious. I stayed up all night, and finally Anne walked in the door at 5:42 a.m. I know because I was by the window watching. I recognized the car as Joe's and the driver as Joe. Nobody else was in the car. Anne waved to him cutely and laughed at something he said. Anne came inside and acted surprised to see me still up. At that point, I flatly told her that we were done and that she has the rest of the day to move out. Anne was at first confused with me, and then I told her she can just move in with Joe. She rolled her eyes and said nothing happened. She gave me this spiel about my insecurities and imagination. I said it didn't matter. After this back and forward arguing, Anne finally relented and sarcastically thanked me for wasting the best years of her life. Anne finally moved out yesterday, and it was pretty dramatic. She said that she loved me and that I was throwing away everything over a party. Did I do her wrong here? I feel like I'm getting gaslighted. Let's face it, she's the one who just threw away the best years of her life. She invited you to this initial party, then left you there. When Joe came up to you and tapped you on the shoulder and said, sorry, only Anne is invited, Anne knew exactly what was going on because she didn't go, oh, where's my boyfriend? And then when you asked her if she knew that you wasn't invited, she left you on red. Come on. She's taking the piss. Even if she didn't do anything, she still totally disrespected you. Commenter says she left you at a party she invited you to, went to another party without communicating with you, and then ghosted you when you messaged her. I'm sorry, but she doesn't care or respect you. At least you know you're no priority and a colleague seemed to be more important. I would never leave my partner I came with to a party, stranded at the party, and then gaslit him for being angry. Seems you're her safety person, the one who should wait for her